Hey guys, Bob from Gil Skillz. This is Andy. Say hi, Andy.
Hi, nice to meet you.
All right. Today, what we're doing is we are replacing front brake pads on a 2007?
2008.
2008 Honda Accord. So stay tuned. All right, so the first thing we're doing here is we're going to remove the tires. Jack this puppy up. Not in that order. You know, we're just loosening the lugs right now before we jack it up. So that once we do jack it up, we can take off the lugs and remove the tires. All right, so what we're doing now is we're getting between the, we're not replacing the rotor, so we don't want to damage it in any way. So what I'm doing is I'm getting between the caliper and the old brake pads, and I'm just lightly compressing the caliper so that I can remove the caliper once it's loosened. And also to help in that, I've removed the top cap for the brake fluid container. So this, if we do it this way, once we put everything back on, we shouldn't necessarily need to bleed the brakes. A lot of people think that you have to bleed the brakes when you replace the front brake pads. You don't necessarily need to do that if you follow steps like this. All right, so the first thing we want to do now that the tires are off is we're going to remove the caliper, taking this bolt out and this bolt out down here. I'm going to take the caliper, hang it up here, and then we're going to remove this bracket here. And the reason we're going to remove it is because we want to use a wire brush and clean out all the areas that these little metal brackets are going to be in, so that there's no seizing of the new pads once we put them in. And to take out the bracket, we're going to be using a 17 millimeter. So with Hondas, you want to use millimeters. No standards here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Go. Just hang that up here. So we've got the brake pads. These brake pads don't look all that bad, but the new brake pads are probably 3 or 4 times as thick. So good preventative maintenance. Go ahead and get that taken care of. This is part of the brake pad itself. So the next thing I'm going to want to do is we're going to remove this bracket here, take these brake pads out, and then we're going to take these old brackets out and then take a wire brush and then clean out all of those little nooks, crannies, crevices, and whatnot, because sediment and various other things can build up in there, which can create less space for these brake pads to flex whenever you need to apply the brake. And then that can cause uneven wear on the brake pads, which can cause premature brake replacement. All right, so we've got these 2 bolts off with the 14 millimeter socket, and we've got, it's really hard to see, so let me grab you for a minute. We've got the 17 millimeter sockets off here and here. So the caliper's up here. We're going to take this bracket off so that we can clean it with a wire brush. Now, some people will say you can take one of the bolts out, loosen this bolt down here, flip it forward, and you can pretty much do the same thing. I don't like doing that because I feel like this piece will be too close to the rotor, and I don't want to risk damaging the rotor. So it's always a good idea for me anyway to take this off, take the bracket pieces off, and I put this in a vise and I clean it up, and you'll see that in a few moments. There we go. So there's your brake pads and the brake mounting bracket. All right, so these are the old pads. Andy tells me these are the original pads, and you can see here the new pads. Let's get a close-up on that. Quite a difference. You know, you got maybe 1/4 of an inch on the other one, and there's like a 1/2 inch on the new one. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started on getting this all cleaned up and getting it replaced. Stuck in one place. This is seized up right here. Look. Oh, jeez. See how it's kind of uneven? Mm-hmm. Like this is a little wider than that side. This part's seized up. And that's why we're taking this bracket off, to make sure that this is all clean. And that also proves my point that there should be grease within these brackets, which is included in most breaker pad replacements. Wow. Wowee. See all that rust buildup right there? Basically what that does is it expands the metal. And it's doing it on the other side too, where this bracket is. It's pushing this bracket in. And this rust was pushing out, so it caused the brake pad to seize. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and take off those old brackets. Whew. That goes like that. Oops, like that. Get the other one off. Well, if these are original, you can definitely tell that they haven't been replaced in forever. Okay. Alright, so we're left with this. Now you can clearly see there's a lot of rust buildup here. And to get rid of that kind of rust buildup, you're going to need a wire brush. So basically all you got to do is just kind of scrub a dub-dub. And when you're doing this, please don't be afraid to get dirty, because you're going to get dirty. Let's just face facts here. Pretty good. So, like I was telling Andy, these here allow your caliper to move in and out so that you can, so that it does its job and presses up against the rotor. So you got to make sure that they are good and flexible and doing their job. And these are doing okay. And it's actually good. I can feel there's a decent amount of grease in there already, so I'm going to leave that as is. So it's good to check those too. So we didn't have, it's weird because the only brackets that came with these replacements are these pieces right here. And I'm sure there's a way to do it with those, but I've always used the more traditional brackets, so that's what we're going to go with. I took the wire brush and I scrubbed them down as best I could, and we're going to go ahead and put them back in place. So it fits nice and snug in there, as you can see. This is normal because I did some bending of this when I tried to clean it off. Come on, buddy. All right, so that's secure. So what we're gonna do next, and this is a very, very important step, is to put the grease in, right in here. And this is gonna prevent seizing, and it's going to make sure that your brakes have a long, consistent life. So we're just gonna smear it in there. Smear, smear, smear. It's got this silvery look to it. All right, so all 4 of those are nice and greased up. So now we're going to put the brake pads on. All right, so that's how the brakes should look. We're all ready to put this back on the rotor and mount this back on. This piece here is just from the new brake pads, but it's important that it stays on there once we mount everything up. So let's go ahead and put this back on. Stop dragging my heart around. Let's get in there. Make sure the holes are lined up. Alright, that looks spiffy. Let's see if I can get that all tightened back up.
I just think it's crazy how we can film stuff on cell phones now. Back in my day, we used a camcorder with a little cassette.
Back in my day.
we had to go to the computer lab and extract the files from the cassette to get it on the computer.
Right. Alright, so we've got that started. See, it's not that hard. Just gotta line up the holes. That. Tighten those puppies right up. If you want to get right on in there, you can. It's up to you. I'm a goofball. What can I say? Oop, lost the thread. Hold on.
Well, they have some of those on the videos on YouTube. They're like car noises you should be listening for. And the guy's like, "Do you hear it?" And then the comments are like, "Well, if you turn down the radio and the air conditioner, you can hear it."
There we go. I got the thread. She's in there good now. Now, techniques may vary. I'm definitely not a professional, but I like to show people this to help them save money. I mean, you definitely have the empowerment to do it yourself. The resources are available to you. So I'm just gonna, there we go. Tighten that. Make sure that's good and tight.
I was able to get these online for, with Amazon points, $25, but original retail $54.99. I mean,
that's not bad for a set of brakes, but the only problem is it didn't come with the brackets. You want to make sure that they come with the brackets.
Do your research, kids.
Yeah, you want to make sure that it comes with the brackets that the manufacturer of the vehicle require. There we go. And she's back on. And as you can see, the brake pads are sitting flush on the rotor. So at this point, all we really need to do is we will need to compress the caliper because it's pushed out because of the thinner brake pads. So in order to do that, I'm just going to use a C-clamp. All right, so You can see this little bulge out here. We want to make that flush with this ring right here. So we're going to go ahead and just use the C-clamp, and we're going to gently push it in. Oops. And as you can see, it's moving in. See that little thing moving in? All right.
I'll just get a nice dead-on view when you're done to show that it is even.
All right.
Show there.
Go ahead and
Oh yeah.
let's see. There we go. So you get the ring right here, and that's nice and even and flush with the outside here. As you can see, you can't really tell. So now we should be able to put the caliper back on. There we go. Push those pieces in. And now we just need to line up the holes, put the bolts in. And what we'll do too is once we get the other side done, we'll go for a little test ride, make sure everything seems okay. You guys are awesome, by the way. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see here, please feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's really important for the growth of my channel. If you see something that you might have done a little differently, or if you would have done something differently yourself, please feel free to be respectful about it and leave a comment below. And I'll take any ideas that would help improve the process as well. One, I know for a fact I need an impact wrench. That would definitely have helped with the tires as well as a few other things.
Do more research on what you're buying.
Yes, that too. Yeah. The more research you do, the better. Believe it or not, that side's done. So we'll go ahead and do the other side.
Let's get all the shots in there.
Yeah, get all the shots. Get the glory shots.
Not bad for, almost 70,000.
No, I mean there is wear. There's obvious wear because you can feel on the top here. There's a little bit of a lip, but you could probably get away with another, 10, 20,000 miles on this. But eventually you will need rotors. But rotors aren't that expensive, and they're not that hard to replace. First time. These brakes are thicker. Excuse me.
Like I said, I've noticed more sound over on that end than this end, so.
Yeah.
But
that
regardless,
might be because one of the points was seized.
It's not just me.
No, it's definitely not just you.
Of course.
All right.
Of course, they weren't going to tell me that when I got the new tires on, so.
So we'll grab the 17mm socket, and we'll take this bracket off, and we'll do the same thing we did to the driver's side. We'll take the old pads out, and we will use the wire brush to clean everything down, grease it up, throw the new pads back on, throw everything back together, and then we'll take a test drive, make sure everything is hunky-dory.
Yep.
So this one's coming off a lot easier. A little bit of rust buildup on this side here too, but it doesn't look bad. It looks like this side, I don't know if you can tell, but there's remnants of grease and stuff, which is good. That means that this side, it didn't seize. It's evenly worn between each side here. All right, so you've already seen me do it to the left side. The right side's identical, so we're just gonna take the pads off, like I said, remove the clips. We're gonna sand everything down, including the clips, put the new pads on, and then we'll put everything back on. The nice thing too is, like, if your mom is concerned about like the quality of my work,
We can watch the video.
just have her watch the video. Say, well, this guy's really,
Well, this is the fact
concerned,
that
and he's, talking about a lot of this and that, and he's making sure this is okay and that's okay.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Wow.
Get in there. Are we?
Alright, press it against the brake like so. Oh, I need my C-clamp. We know your calipers are good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If they were seized, I wouldn't be able to do this.
If you want to take a breather,
No.
Okay.
No.
all right.
On
You're on a
the
roll.
show.
You're on a roll.
That's right.
If you do this during summertime, make sure you drink lots of fluids and stay in a cool place.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Huh. We is getting there. Woohoo!
So my mom did see I sent her a picture of both my brakes and the new ones. And her first reaction was, okay, I'll tell your father then.
Yes.
Alright, so
Done.
inside number 2. Alrighty.
Nice and spiffy.
Oh yeah.
So now what we need to do is pump the brakes. Now that the brakes are in, tires are back on, top of the car is down. We'll need to do it several times to make sure that there's pressure. As you can see, it's grabbing right at the very top now, which is really nice. I don't know if did it grab at the very top?
Oh yeah, no, it was good.
Okay. All right, so there's pressure. There's no need to bleed the brakes or anything. We're gonna take it for a quick test drive just to make sure that there's no issues. We'll go from there. So now that the car's running, we're gonna pump it quite a few more times just to make sure everything goes okay. All right. Let's go for a spin. All right, so we gave it a nice little test drive. She's running nice and smooth. Brakes are nice and responsive. We initially found a bit of a noise on the driver's side, so we pulled it back in and put it back up on the lift. And we found out that one of the brackets was actually rubbing up against the rust on the top of the rotor. So we bent the bracket back a little bit, and I took some of the rust off the rotor because we used the existing rotor, and the sound is mostly gone now. So it's still rubbing a little bit, but the sound will go away in time. Of course, you know, you can get rid of the sound all the way by replacing the brackets and the rotors as well. So that concludes replacing front brake pads on a 2008? 2008 Honda Accord with my good buddy Andy from work. Yes.
87 degrees.
Yeah, it's hot as all get-o. But, you know. All right, guys, again, like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day, guys.